Chapter 1400. Just when Qin Rulin was at her wit's end, Lu Jing, who had disappeared for a long time, appeared. Lu Jing also knew that Wu Lingling had been expelled from the school a few days ago. Lu Jing was not from this school, so he did not know the details of the incident. Lu Jing preferred Wu Lingling, and Wu Lingling naturally preferred Lu Jing. Lu Jing did not know that Wu Lingling was with those hooligans, and Wu Lingling hid it from him. Lu Jing's family background was not bad, but he had more siblings and his father had a lover. Currently, he was not valued. There was no news about him previously because something happened to his mother, so he did not come here. Moreover, he did not come here often and had even less time to attend classes. Brother Knife and the rest would be detained for a few days. When Wu Lingling saw Lu Jing, she asked him where he had been. Lu Jing said that his mother was sick and wanted to go back. His home was not in this city. Why did the school expel you? It's because those good students don't like me, so they expelled me, thinking that I affected their studies. Wu Lingling was very angry. Lu Jing, you don't know how happy they were when they heard that I was expelled. The current Lu Jing was just like Wu Lingling. They were both extremely extreme. They felt that the world had let them down, and everyone who lived better than them was guilty. Actually, Lu Jing's mother was only one of his father's many lovers. But he felt that his father had let his mother down, so he hated everyone in the Lu family. Even when his father wanted to nurture him, he did not listen. Because his mother had indeed helped his father. Many years ago, she had taken a knife for him. So, in his father's heart, his mother was very important. Also, his position in the Lu family was very special. Similarly, he was also the target of many siblings. But because he did not seem to care about those things, no one targeted him for now. What do you plan to do now? I don't know. My mother is still looking for a school for me. There are many schools in this city that are not willing to accept me. They are all the same. They think that my existence will affect their studies. Lu Jing had just returned, so how would he know the situation here? Why don't I help you? Can you? With Lu Jing's help, Wu Lingling entered a private junior high school. Host, what should we do now? Lu Jing still did not know about those things. If he knew, it was unknown if he would help Wu Lingling. Study hard. System. He believes in evil. Wu Lingling's entering that junior high school didn't change anything. She and Lu Jing got closer and closer. Finally, one day, the two of them had a relationship. Wu Lingling was afraid that Lu Jing would find out, so she even faked it so that Lu Jing would believe that he was Wu Lingling's first man. At this moment, Wu Lingling really wanted to get rid of Brother Dao and those hoodlums. Chapter 1401. Although Xiaogu found it strange that her mind had been filled with the shadow of this little sister recently, she couldn't control herself. But she must be feeling unwell to come to him. Otherwise, under normal circumstances, who would come to his place? Weren't people coming to his place to seek treatment for injuries or discomfort? My stomach doesn't feel well, Tangwa said softly, causing Xiao Ji's expression to turn serious. System? Host's stomach hurts? When did this happen? Why didn't she ask him for some medicine? In the system space, there were all kinds of painkillers that guaranteed immediate relief. It was much faster than looking for a school doctor. Then I'll help you check? Xiaogu said subconsciously. Tangwa's lips curled up slightly, but it was only for a moment. Xiaogu didn't even notice it. Then, she forced a smile. Big brother, how do you want me to check? How do you want me to check? These words scared Xiaogu so much that he almost dropped his stethoscope on the floor. This little girl's sweet voice was really too pleasant to listen to. How could it be so sweet? It was so sweet that he wanted to hug her and kiss her. Xiaogu reacted quickly. He was frightened by the scary thought that suddenly appeared in his mind. If he wasn't the only school doctor in the school, he would have run away. I'll help you take your pulse. Xiaogu put the stethoscope aside and sat on the stool. He straightened his back and said with a serious expression, I know some Chinese medicine too. Let me check what's wrong with you first. Actually, his mind was already trying to determine why this little girl's stomach hurt. Did she eat something bad? Or was it her period? For the first time, he couldn't ask the question. In the past, there was a girl who ate something cold and came to him for a checkup. He asked a lot of questions and found out that she ate a popsicle. He even scolded her harshly. Why? When this little girl looked at him with a pair of clean eyes, he couldn't ask the question. Could it be that after leaving the big hospital and coming to the school's small clinic, he really became unprofessional? But this wasn't a problem for him. Even if the patient didn't ask, wouldn't it be clear by taking her pulse? He still believed in his medical skills. Tangwa placed her hand on his, and Xiao Ji's fingers landed on her wrist. His expression was solemn as he removed all thoughts from his mind. In response, Tangwa raised her eyebrows, pursed her lips, and smiled. She said to the system, "Looks quite professional." "That's right, host. Although this guy is often infatuated with you and his image collapses, he has never dropped the ball when it comes to serious matters. By the way, Madam Host, where are you feeling unwell? Does your stomach really hurt? Do you want me to find you some painkillers? You must tell me when you feel uncomfortable. I'm always here." The system said nervously. "Tangwa, my stomach is a little uncomfortable. It's my period." "I see. In the system space, there are also many medicines for menstrual periods. Just take 2 of them and you'll be fine. These are all obtained in the high-tech world, which is much more advanced than here. Dear host, don't disregard your own health." Tangwa, her little Tongzi was really stupid sometimes. "Isn't there a school doctor here? I heard that his medical skills are good, so I came to see him." Tangwa pursed her lips as she said this. Finally, the system's voice stopped abruptly. Sorry for disturbing. He didn't understand the situation properly. His IQ was dragging him down. Fupin Chinese Pinnacle. Chapter 1402. It's your period, right? Xiao Gu let go of Tangwa's slender and fair wrist and said with a serious expression, "Does your stomach hurt like this every time you have your period?" Yes. Tangwa wasn't lying. In her memory, this body really did experience pain every time she had her period. Fortunately, her family was well-to-do and she had good living habits, so the symptoms weren't too serious. But every time she had her period, she would still feel very weak, accompanied by slight pain. These 2 days, she wouldn't have much energy, and her face wouldn't look too good either. If she didn't replenish her nutrition in time, she would even feel dizzy. "Then I'll make you a cup of brown sugar water first." Xiao Gu looked at the young lady's pale face, and for some reason, he felt a little heartache. It must be because the young lady was too obedient and had to be tortured by something like her period. He sympathized with her. Yes, it must be. There was no other reason. He definitely had brown sugar here. Young ladies these days didn't pay much attention to their health. There were also many who ate cold food during their periods. Basically, he would give them a harsh scolding whenever he saw them. While he was making the brown sugar water, he casually asked Tangwa, "You didn't eat cold food these 2 days, right?" "No." Xiao Gu nodded. "Don't touch cold water either." "Okay." He cooled the brown sugar water for a while until it was warm enough to drink. Then, he passed it to Tangwa. "Drink some first. It can alleviate some of your symptoms. Your situation is still considered good. I'll prescribe some medicine for you and—" Xiao Gu hurriedly stopped himself. He almost blurted out that the symptoms would be much better if she massaged her lower abdomen. "No matter what, big brother?" "Big brother?" Tangwa asked seriously. Xiao Gu looked at her studious face and almost went berserk. Massage? He couldn't possibly massage her. She was still a young lady, and he was only a few years older than her. If word got out, it would affect her reputation and her studies. And didn't she say last time that she shouldn't get too close to him because it would affect her reputation and her studies? Hence, Xiao Gu turned around and took out a booklet. She placed it in front of Tangwa and said seriously, "There's a massage technique here. Take it home and read it. When you go home at night, massage according to the instructions. Every time you have your period, massage it and the symptoms will slowly ease. Then, I'll prescribe you some medicine. It shouldn't be so serious next time." System. Host. I'm a person with principles. You're still a young lady. Even if your heart is a little different, you still have your own principles. Host. Your big cutie is really cute. There aren't many boys nowadays who are so principled and respect girls. I think that if you grow up for another 2 years, he won't be so concerned. Tangwa. I never thought that I would be despised by the system one day. Okay. Big brother, you're such a nice person. Of course, Tangwa had no intention of making things difficult for Xiao Gu. She was just a little interested in this guy and suddenly thought of him, so she came over to take a look. Xiao Gu heaved a sigh of relief. If you feel any discomfort, come and find me. I guarantee that you'll be cured. Okay. In the end, Tangwa finished drinking the brown sugar water. She returned to the classroom with the belly massage booklet and some medicine that Xiao Gu had given her. She was all smiles the whole day. Her classmates didn't understand why Tangwa was so happy, but they were happy as well. Fuping Chinese Vertex. The school wanted to talk to her, and it had a great impact on her. Therefore, it was better to wait for her to grow for another 2 years. Xiao Gu secretly decided that even if he was interested in this obedient little sister, he couldn't show it. Otherwise, there would be many voices attacking her from all directions. In this world, there were many people who liked to trample on beauty. I'm much better now, Tangwa replied. I brought you a cup of brown sugar water. When Xiao Gu said this, she was still a little embarrassed. Looking at her clean smile and clear eyes, he coughed lightly and said, as a doctor, I definitely have to pay attention to the follow-up of my patients. Vertex. Chapter 1404. Thank you. Tangwa walked to the door of the classroom and took the brown sugar water. Big brother, you're such a good doctor. Then I'm leaving. Xiao Gu reminded her again. Remember, don't eat anything cold or spicy, and don't touch cold water, understand? Understood. Xiao Gu really left. He was afraid that if he didn't leave now, he wouldn't be able to control himself and would go to the classroom to talk to her and hold her hand. So, when would his little sister, who had accidentally entered his brain, grow up? Xiao Gu was a little worried and returned to the infirmary with a sad face. Tangwa returned to her seat and continued to do her homework after finishing the brown sugar water. Seeing how happy she was, the system didn't ask her if she wanted the limited edition menstrual medicine in the system space. Big Brother Xiao Ji's brown sugar water was much more effective than these medicines. Look at how happy the host was. The next day, Tangwa went to the infirmary to look for Xiao Gu at noon. When she entered the infirmary, Xiao Gu passed her a cup of brown sugar water. After asking her how she was today, she said that she was fine. After sitting for a while, she left. Xiao Gu looked at her back view and felt a little lost. He was still thinking about when this obedient little sister would grow up. In the afternoon, Tangwa sat in the classroom to do her homework. Seeing that most people had left, Xiao Gu took a thermos and wandered around the school building. In the end, he wandered to Tangwa's class and gave her the brown sugar water in the thermos before leaving. System. Damn it, this dog food. Is there an end to it? Looking at how happy the host was, he endured it. The system also didn't miss any news about Wu Lingling. Once there was any new news, it would immediately report it to Tangwa. Because of Miao Rura's incident, Wu Lingling was expelled and didn't dare to do it again. However, because the junior high school that Wu Lingling was studying in was a private school, there were still many students with good grades. Because of Lu Jing's request, the school accepted Wu Lingling, but also arranged for her to be in a class that relied on connections. This class was basically the kind that the school had given up on. It was a poor class. Wu Lingling didn't care about these things. Not long after, she got along well with the girls in her class. After Brother Knife came out, he did not give up on Wu Lingling. They would use the photos to threaten her. If she dared to run away from them, they would give the photos to Lu Jing. Wu Lingling really liked Lu Jing, especially after she found out that Lu Jing actually came from a good background. She had tasted the benefits of Lu Jing's connections and was able to enroll in this junior high school. Hence, she didn't want to give up on Lu Jing, but she didn't want to get involved with Brother Knife and the others. Chapter 1405. When Tangwa heard this from the system, she was not moved. She was surprised that Wu Lingling had fallen so quickly. While Wu Lingling was entangled with Brother Knife and the other hooligans by bringing their classmates out to play, she was also having a good time with Lu Jing. The boy and girl who had tasted the forbidden fruit for the first time only had love in their eyes. How would they know what they should and should not do now? When both of them were rebellious, if there was a different twist in their lives, then their paths in the future would be different. Wu Lingling did not know that the hooligan boss above Brother Knife was actually one of Lu Jing's brothers. He was looking for trouble with Lu Jing just to give him a blow. If Tanghua had picked up that call, she would have been the one to suffer. If Wu Lingling did not encounter so many things, their lives would have changed when they met Lu Jing. After Lu Jing came back, Wu Lingling stayed by his side and cried for a few days. She said that she was almost bullied by the hooligan boss above Brother Knife. Of course, she hid the fact that Tanghua was kidnapped by the hooligans. When Lu Jing went back to visit his mother, he felt that he could not continue like this. When he heard that the person he liked was almost bullied by his rival, he was furious. At the same time, he realized that if he continued like this, not only would he let down his mother, but he would also not be able to protect the person he liked. Then, Lu Jing learned to make use of his father's relationship with his mother and slowly changed for the better. When Wu Lingling saw that Lu Jing was changing for the better, she did not want to fall behind because she liked Lu Jing and started to change. Lu Jing hired a home tutor. Wu Lingling said that she wanted to improve with him, so she would follow him for tutoring every day. So, it was the tragedy of the original owner that made the two of them successful. Tanghua said in a low voice. Now, everything has changed. I'm just watching them dance with folded arms. The two little boys and girls who tasted the forbidden fruit for the first time are now immersed in it and can't extricate themselves. How can they think of other things? Wu Lingling could not turn back. With Wu Lingling leading the way, Lu Jing could not turn back either. It was impossible for Lu Jing to inherit the Lu family in this life. Besides, the young master of the Lu family behind Brother Knife must have known about this, right? How could the other party not be able to grasp such a huge weakness? She was not interested in the matters of the Lu family. However, if the other party could prevent Lu Jing from making a comeback, she would be very happy. As for Brother Dao and the others, there was no need to be in a hurry. He would squeeze them dry first, and none of them would be able to escape. Tongzi, find evidence of the crimes of those who have a grudge against me. The system shuddered. Hearing Dun's words, it quickly agreed. Then let's just sit and wait. Wu Lingling will push herself into the abyss step by step. Tanghua felt a little regretful. It's a pity that she wasn't reborn. If she was, that would be great. The system. Of course it would be great. If Wu Lingling was reborn, it would feel really good to torture her. It was time for the final exam. Tanghua wasn't surprised. She was the top student in the cohort, so she didn't get many points deducted. At most, she would only get 1 or 2 points. Actually, these deductions were all due to the teacher's friendship. They couldn't really give full marks, right? Although they really wanted to. Father Tang and Mother Tang were very satisfied with this satisfactory answer. Wu Lingling's results were not good to begin with. Ever since she was transferred to the junior high school that was even further away from home, her results were naturally worse. Not only did she fail all the exams, but she actually scored only 19 points in one of them. Qin Rulin was furious. Fupin Chinese the Apex. Chapter 1406. At the family gathering, Qin Rulin did not mention Wu Lingling much. Tanghua was still the most eye-catching among her peers. She was surrounded by all her peers. It was a family gathering, but these people were actually holding exam papers and asking her questions. After Tanghua's birthday, they had set up a group in private. If they had any difficult questions, they would send them to the group. When Tanghua was free, she would help them solve the questions. The steps were detailed and easy to understand, so their results improved a lot. Because of Tanghua's words, they were now learning what they were good at. Their families were very supportive. Perhaps it was because they could learn what they liked, so they improved in other subjects. These relatives liked Tanghua very much and were very grateful to her. If she had not reminded them, they would not have known that their children were so talented in certain aspects. Tanghua's cousin was already participating in mathematical Olympiad practice. Her cousin who was good at drawing was also learning how to draw. As for the others who were good in other aspects, the family did not hesitate to spend money to groom them as long as they liked. Most importantly, their results were not bad now. They were above average. Moreover, they had their own areas of expertise, so their future was much brighter than before. Qin Rulin looked at the group of children surrounding Tanghua, chatting and laughing. She also heard that their results had improved a lot. She glanced at Wu Lingling, who was sitting at the side with a look of disdain. She walked over and tugged at Wu Lingling, whispering, "Why don't you go and play with your cousin Xiaoguo? Look, everyone is having fun. You're the only one sitting here eating melon seeds. What's wrong with you? You don't fit in." "Mom, don't bother about me. It's the new year. I'm not interested in discussing studies instead of eating melon seeds." At the mention of Tanguo, Wu Lingling's heart was filled with hatred. If not for Tanguo, would she be in such a miserable state now? Would she be threatened by Brother Knife with photos and tremble with fear when she was with Lu Jing? It was all Tanguo's fault. If she had not lost her phone, all those things would not have happened to her. If all those things had not happened, she would not have been fired. Play with her? She didn't want that. In fact, she even hoped that one day, Tanguo would also fall into Brother Dao's hands. At that time, let's see how the other party will show off. Wasn't it just good grades? It was going to be endless. Qin Rulin was afraid of angering Wu Lingling, so she didn't say anything more. Listening to others discussing the improvement of her child's grades, she felt very uncomfortable. These relatives were all smart people. Wu Lingling's incident had caused quite a stir. Chapter 1407. After the family reunion, Tanguo's siblings were discussing where they should go to have fun. Wu Lingling felt uncomfortable when she saw the group of people laughing and joking around. Other than the day of the reunion, Wu Lingling did not appear in front of Tanguo during the Chinese New Year. According to the system, she had been hanging out with her friends for the past few days. Lu Jing was called home, and the group of hooligans who had nothing to do found Wu Lingling and the other delinquents and asked them to go to the bar. This was what Wu Lingling was most comfortable with. She felt uncomfortable with the group of obedient students. It was more relaxing to hang out with these people. As for what the hooligans wanted to do with her, they had already done what they should do. Even if she was unwilling, they had her photo. How could she refuse? Once, twice, thrice, and 4 times, Wu Lingling was already used to fooling around with the hooligans. Gradually, words like ethics, self-respect, and self-respect disappeared from Wu Lingling's dictionary. These words slowly became having fun. How could the people around her know that she was having fun? The people in her family did not understand her at all. She felt that this was youth. Wu Lingling and the other delinquents didn't care about anything at all. They just did whatever they wanted. Just like that, Wu Lingling and the hooligans had a wild holiday. After school reopened, Tanguo's school life was still very peaceful. From time to time, a school doctor would wander around her classroom when she was doing her homework in the afternoon. Every time her period came, Xiao Gu would appear at the classroom door on time. When he appeared, it was after school in the afternoon and the other students had left. There was no one in the school and Tanguo was the only one left in the classroom. He would pass Tanguo a cup of brown sugar water and ask her how she was feeling. He would remind her not to eat cold or spicy food and not to touch cold water. If she wanted to wash her hands, she could go to the infirmary. He had hot water there. Every time he finished speaking, Tanguo would thank him with a smile, and it was visible to the naked eye that his ears were getting better. Then he would run away as if there was a ghost chasing after him. Host, Wu Lingling is pregnant. The system was already monitoring Wu Lingling's movements. The area he covered now was already very far. The school that the other party studied at was actually quite far away from here, but because his current level was higher, he could still monitor it. The main reason why the host asked him to keep an eye on Wu Lingling was to prevent Wu Lingling from dragging down the female students who were studying hard. In an instant, he observed where Wu Lingling was heading. What's going on? Whose is it? Tanguo asked because Wu Lingling was entangled with the gangsters and Lu Jing at the same time. Although Wu Lingling was currently living in the dormitory, she had never stayed in the dormitory. Instead, she stayed at Lu Jing's place. Seeing that she was obedient, the hooligan didn't make things difficult for her. Only when Lu Jing was not around would he call her over to play. She didn't know. The system was also a little speechless, but I helped her calculate that it wasn't Lu Jing's. Oh, what is she going to do now? She was quarreling with Lu Jing and blamed him for it. Lu Jing felt that he was in the wrong, so he did not hold it against her and allowed her to hit him. He even said that if she wanted, she could give birth to the child and he could raise it. Wu Lingling did not agree. She was afraid that it might not be Lu Jing's. Vertex. Chapter 1408. Because of her pregnancy, Wu Lingling had been kicking up a fuss with Lu Jing for a long time. Lu Jing felt guilty and allowed Wu Lingling to kick up a fuss. He did not get angry. When Wu Lingling said no, he paid for her to go to the hospital for an abortion. But Wu Lingling was not 16 years old and did not have an identity card. Neither did Lu Jing. Lu Jing was just a hooligan. His father was rich, and he had a group of people who followed him for various reasons. He could not reach the hospital, so he could not find a doctor to secretly help Wu Lingling get an abortion. So she needed a guardian to take her to the hospital. My family can't know about this. Lu Jing, if my family finds out, we are both finished. Wu Lingling finally understood the importance of this matter. If someone found out that she had an abortion and the news got out, everything she had would be ruined. She would not be able to hold her head high in front of her relatives. She was a few months away from 16 years old. If her classmates found out, she would not be able to hold her head high. So she could not let others know about this. Then I will find someone to go with us. Don't worry, we will go to a hospital far away. No one will see us. It was not a problem to find someone to pretend to be Wu Lingling's guardian. Wu Lingling bit her lip and finally nodded. Tanghua saw the two of them through the system's surveillance and decided on this matter. She never felt that she had anything to do with this matter. Until one afternoon, when she was having lunch in the cafeteria, the system's voice sounded. Host, Wu Lingling sneaked into your classroom. She is rummaging through your bag. Tanghua narrowed her eyes and stood up quickly. She could not be bothered to eat. What was this Wu Lingling trying to do? Suddenly, an idea flashed through her mind. Was Wu Lingling trying to steal her identity card to get an abortion? I have my identity card in my bag. See if she took it. Tanghua was so angry that she laughed. Wu Lingling was too naive. How dare she provoke her? The cafeteria was about 10 minutes away from the classroom. Under the system's surveillance, Wu Lingling had already found Tanghua's identity card in her bag. Coincidentally, at this time, the students went out for lunch. Wu Lingling saw that there was no one in the classroom, so she sneaked in and planned to leave after taking the ID card. This Wu Lingling, even when she had an abortion, she didn't even shit on her head. Host, Wu Lingling has left the classroom and is going downstairs.
Yes.
When Tanghua walked to the door of the teaching building, Wu Lingling happened to come downstairs. When she saw Tanghua, she was also stunned. Wu Lingling, who had always disliked Tanghua, actually said when she saw her today, Cousin Xiaogua, didn't you go for dinner? Wu Lingling was familiar with Tanghua. She knew that Tanghua would never change her schedule. That was why she was surprised that Tanghua came back at this time. Especially now that she had secretly taken Tanghua's ID card, she felt very guilty. She wanted to say goodbye and leave immediately. I was eating, but something suddenly happened, so I don't want to eat anymore. Oh, then cousin, you go ahead. I'll leave first. Wu Lingling walked quickly past Tanghua. She was still a little smug, but before she could finish, she was stopped by Tanghua. Wu Lingling's heart skipped a beat. However, she did not think that Tanghua had found out that she had taken the ID card. She only looked unhappy and asked, Cousin Xiaogua, why are you stopping me? Peek. Chapter 1409. You can go, but leave the ID card in your pocket. Tanghua didn't talk nonsense with Wu Lingling. Most of the people passing by knew Tanghua, an excellent student. Wu Lingling had done such a thing before, so they naturally knew Wu Lingling. Many people gathered around to watch. They knew that the two were here in person and were curious about what had happened between them. When Wu Lingling heard Tanghua mention the ID card, her face suddenly changed. Cousin Xiaogua, what are you talking about? What ID card? Tanghua smiled and didn't give Wu Lingling a chance to quibble. Now that the ID card was in Wu Lingling's pocket, she could just grab it and show it to everyone. Therefore, before Wu Lingling could react, she walked in front of Wu Lingling and put one hand into Wu Lingling's pocket. Wu Lingling had no time to stop her. She could only watch Tanghua snatch the ID card and was speechless for a moment. This is my ID card, Wu Lingling. Tanghua held up the ID card in her hand and showed it to the people around her. Everyone, look, is this my ID card? The name and photo on it are indeed Tanghua's. Originally, they especially hated Wu Lingling, especially the girls. They all stood behind Tanghua and looked at Wu Lingling with suspicion. She stole Tanghua's ID card. What was she trying to do? Breaking the law? At this time, the big sister of Tanghua's class came. When she saw Wu Lingling, she walked quickly to Tanghua's side and shouted at Wu Lingling, "Wu Lingling, what are you doing here? You still have the face to come to this school? Are you going to bully Tanghua? Didn't you learn your lesson last time?" Wu Lingling stole Tanghua's ID card. I don't know what she's going to do. It's definitely not something good. She stole it in the classroom while everyone was eating. If it weren't for Tanghua's alertness, she would have succeeded. We can't let her go. We must find out what she's going to do with the ID card. Wu Lingling felt regretful when she saw that things were not going well. In fact, she just wanted to annoy Tanghua. She remembered a plot she had seen before and knew that Tanghua always carried her ID card in her school bag. Only then did she come up with an idea. While the other party was having lunch, she secretly took her ID card and prepared to go to the hospital to get an abortion in the name of Tanghua. She had never thought that she would be discovered by Tanghua halfway through. Seeing that there were more and more people, she said, "I was just joking with cousin Xiaogua. We're relatives, so I won't do anything bad." How can we believe that Wu Lingling did not do anything bad? I've already asked someone to get the teacher. We have to investigate this matter thoroughly. Then, we'll get the teacher to inform your parents and your school. Otherwise, this matter won't be over. A student from a junior high school actually came here to steal from us. Seeing that things were getting out of hand, Wu Lingling wanted to run away. Tanghua stretched out her leg and hooked him, causing him to fall flat on his face. The leader and a few other girls went up to hold Wu Lingling down. They did nothing else but drag her to the office. Disperse, disperse. Teacher will deal with this matter. Big Sis waved her hand and everyone dispersed. She turned around and patted Tanghua on the shoulder. Don't worry, we're all here. Wu Lingling won't be able to do anything bad. Tanghua nodded and smiled in her heart. She had planned to let Qin Rulin know about this matter. She did not expect that the leader of the class would appear and consider everything. At the peak. Chapter 14:10. The person who stole the ID card was Wu Lingling, and the person whose ID card was stolen was Tanghua. When the homeroom teacher found out about this, she immediately informed the school and Wu Lingling's private junior high school. When the private junior high school found out that Wu Lingling had caused trouble, they immediately informed her parents. Tanghua sat in the office and waited. Seeing that she couldn't leave, Wu Lingling was so anxious that she was about to cry for the first time. When Tanghua saw the other party's red eyes, she felt very comfortable. Before long, the teachers of Qin Rulin and Wu Lingling's junior high school arrived. When Qin Rulin saw Wu Lingling's red eyes, she was angry and felt that her daughter was disappointing. When she saw Tanghua sitting obediently at the side, she walked over to Tanghua and asked, "Xiaogua, what's going on? Why did you have to make such a big deal out of this?" "Auntie, Lingling stole my ID card. If I didn't realize that something was wrong, I don't know what she would do with it." "Why did Lingling take your ID card for no reason?" Qin Rulin was still uncomfortable. Couldn't they talk about family matters behind closed doors? Why did they have to make such a big deal out of it? She was very unhappy with Tanghua. Tanghua couldn't be bothered to argue with Qin Rulin. "Auntie, why don't you ask Lingling why she took my ID card? This isn't a small matter. If she took my ID card to do something illegal, what do you think the consequences will be? Since Auntie is here, please ask her clearly. I'm sure Auntie still remembers what Lingling did last time, right?" The school was also criticizing Wu Lingling, especially the teacher of Wu Lingling's junior high school. Her face was flushed red from the criticism. Now that she had been caught red-handed, she couldn't defend herself even if she wanted to. This Wu Lingling was a jinx. In front of so many people, Wu Lingling naturally refused to admit what she had done with the ID card. Tanghua also didn't have much hope that Wu Lingling would admit that she had used the ID card to get an abortion. She just wanted to make a big deal out of it. It was that simple. Finally, Wu Lingling was taken away by Qin Rulin. After the teacher went back, he suggested to the principal that Wu Lingling should be fired. Going to someone else's school to steal things, she really couldn't afford to lose face. However, because Lu Jing had forced Wu Lingling into the school and gave her a lot of money, she decided to stay in the school. Qin Rulin couldn't control Wu Lingling. After teaching her a lesson, it was useless. Tangwa called Mother Tang the same day she learned about this matter. What? Lingling snuck into your school to steal your ID? Mrs. Tang's expression was indescribable. This Wu Lingling was really getting out of hand. Well, Mom, I still don't know what she's going to do with the ID card. Can you get someone to pay attention to it? If she really does something illegal, Auntie still doesn't know what to do. Tangwa did not have good intentions when she said that. She could not directly expose the fact that Wu Lingling was pregnant and wanted an abortion. She didn't intend to expose Wu Lingling in the first place. She just wanted to watch Wu Lingling degenerate step by step, but she couldn't forgive Wu Lingling for stealing her ID card. So, it was better not to be too complacent about the pregnancy. Mrs. Tang still cared about Qin Rulin, so she immediately said that she would get someone to pay attention to it. Mrs. Tang and Mr. Tang were very capable. They knew a lot of people, and many accomplished people were likely to be their classmates. Soon, there was a result. Fuping Chinese Top Point. Chapter 1411. Tangwa learned from the system that Wu Lingling had gone to the hospital for an abortion and was seen by one of Mother Tang's classmates. Mother Tang and Father Tang had a group chat and knew that Wu Lingling had tried to steal Tangwa's identity card. Mother Tang didn't tell the people in the group chat about this. Instead, she told them that Wu Lingling was rebellious, and if they saw her doing anything unusual, they should inform her so that Wu Lingling wouldn't go down the wrong path. Those who were familiar with Wu Lingling's family knew about it. Many of the children in the group chat went to the same school as Tangwa, so they knew more about it. Mother Tang's classmates happened to be at the hospital where Wu Lingling had gone for an abortion. Wu Lingling didn't know them, but many people knew Wu Lingling's name. Moreover, Mother Tang had specifically told them not to. When Mother Tang found out about this, she immediately understood why Wu Lingling had tried to steal Tangwa's identity card. She hated Wu Lingling to the core. This time, she had really given up on Wu Lingling and told Qin Rulin about it. Apparently, Qin Rulin gave Wu Lingling a good beating. Wu Lingling didn't even want to live at home and moved in with Lu Jing. Qin Rulin couldn't do anything about it, so she complained to Mother Tang. Sister, why did I have such a daughter? She's so young and she's so mischievous. She played with hooligans and even had an abortion. It was embarrassing to talk about it. Sister, what should I do? If only Lingling was as obedient as Xiaoguo. Why didn't she learn from Xiaoguo? You have to teach a child from a young age. In the past, you didn't want to spend more time on it. Now that you've gone astray, it's hard to turn things around. Mother Tang didn't want to care about Qin Rulin's affairs. Wu Lingling was the one who didn't learn to be good and even tried to frame her daughter. She was so evil at such a young age. If she wasn't Qin Rulin's daughter, she would have killed her. Not to mention that she couldn't do anything about it. Even if she could, she wouldn't help Wu Lingling anymore. She would treat everything she did as if she had fed a dog. If Qin Rulin didn't understand, she wouldn't want this girl anymore. She didn't know how to teach a child and spent all her time on a man. She didn't even care about her own child and expected others to help her. Mrs. Tang understood. Therefore, no matter what Qin Rulin said, she did not say anything about interfering. In the end, Qin Rulin left with resentment in her heart. Mrs. Tang could only sigh when she saw the look on Mrs. Tang's face. Now that she thought about it carefully, it was really fortunate that her daughter had not been led astray. If she knew that there was no Tangwa in this world, and that her daughter would be on the path to hell, would she still feel lucky? Would he be able to remain calm when facing Wu Lingling? Several days passed, but Wu Lingling still didn't come home. Qin Rulin looked for her several times, but Wu Lingling yelled at her. She didn't take her mother seriously at all. She was extremely rebellious and said that she wouldn't go home again. Qin Rulin then went to Mrs. Tang and complained to her mother about how hard her life was. Mrs. Tang was a kind-hearted person. She might not care about Wu Lingling, but if something really happened to Qin Rulin, she probably wouldn't be so heartless. So, this weekend, Tangwa poured a glass of water for Mother and Father Tang. She put 2 golden millet dreams in the water so they could feel the despair of their past lives. System. Terrifying. He thought that the host wouldn't do anything to Mother and Father Tang. As it turned out, these two had to eat golden millet dreams. One dream was worth a lifetime. It was enough for these two to suffer. Peak. Chapter 14:12. Unrealized dream wasn't really a dream. Instead, it was like experiencing a forgotten life, and the memory was very deep. Those who had used unrealized dream wouldn't think that their dreams were fake. The next morning, Tangwa felt refreshed. It was the weekend. Originally, the couple had pretty good habits. Even if it was the weekend or when they had nothing to do, they would still get up at 6 or 7. But today, they didn't get up. It wasn't until 8 that Tangwa heard some movement in the house. Mrs. Tang seemed to be crying. She sat on the sofa, watching TV and drinking milk, waiting quietly. At around 9:30, Mrs. Tang and Mr. Tang came out. Both of them didn't look too good. When they looked at Tangwa, their eyes were filled with guilt and relief. Tangwa knew what they were rejoicing about. They were rejoicing that everything they experienced in this world was different from their dreams. But was it that simple? The system sensed Tangwa's thoughts and couldn't help but ask, "Host, do you have any thoughts?" "Yes." "What thoughts?" "Nothing. I'll just find a chance to tell them that this perfect daughter of mine isn't their real daughter. She's a mission enforcer who's here to help their daughter fulfill her wish and live a new life." System. This bad woman is really too bad. Actually, I don't need to find a chance. They've already used unrealized dream. So many details will be different. They're not idiots. They'll slowly realize that I'm not their real daughter. Host, you're so cruel. Mrs. Tang and Mr. Tang were even more concerned about Tangwa now. They didn't say anything else. But they didn't talk about Wu Lingling or Qin Ruolin anymore. No matter how pitiful Qin Ruolin was, Mrs. Tang didn't waver. The two of them worked diligently while taking care of their daughter. That night's dream still haunted them, and they couldn't get rid of it. Now, whenever they saw Wu Lingling, they felt uncomfortable. They told themselves countless times that it was just a dream. But when they thought about the details that made Tangwa different from their daughter, they realized that this daughter in front of them was even more outstanding. Their hearts sank, but they still didn't say anything. It was better for Tangwa. They refused to admit it, host. If you don't want to admit it, so be it. Tangwa was already in the second semester of her second year of high school. Her grades had always been at the top. Apart from Wu Lingling, who had completely become a female gangster and had been shuffling between Lu Jing and the gangsters, the other members of the family were becoming more and more outstanding. Almost a year later, Wu Lingling had another abortion and pushed the blame to Lu Jing again. Lu Jing was still unaware of this. After school in the afternoon, Tangwa was still doing her homework in the classroom. Not long after, Xiao Gu arrived with dinner. Hungry? Not yet. Eat this before you do the exercise. Xiao Gu opened the insulated box and placed it in front of Tangwa. Try it. Tangwa looked up with a smile. Brother Xiaoga, little sister Tangwa. After interacting with her for so long, how could Xiao Gu not know that this little sister was very clever? Did you make these? Xiao Gu nodded. I did it. Brother, you're amazing. Xiao Gu was full of smiles from the praise, and his eyes softened. Eat. I'll leave first. Just put the insulated box at the door of the infirmary later. Before he left, he touched Tangwa's head and said in a low voice, Little sister, you have to become an adult soon. Brother, why don't you go and push the earth once? I'll be an adult soon. Xiao Gu, what do you mean by pushing the earth once? Can you do that? Peek. Chapter 14:13. A year ago, Wu Lingling had chosen to drop out of school. Qin Ruolin liked to tell others about Wu Lingling's rebellious behavior of not returning home and fooling around outside. She said that Wu Lingling was insensible. She even said that Wu Lingling did not understand her parents' feelings and had let her down. She had never thought that Wu Lingling became a delinquent because she worked 2 jobs and spent most of her money on Wu Jun. Before Wu Lingling transferred to another school, Mrs. Tang had paid for her school fees. Even most of Wu Lingling's pocket money was given by Mrs. Tang. Apart from giving Wu Lingling a place to stay, she also gave Wu Lingling some money every day. She had never spent any effort on Wu Lingling. How could she expect her daughter to become a phoenix? Wu Lingling did not learn well and became a delinquent. That was because she was insensible. Mrs. Tang looked at Wu Lingling and did not help her. In her heart, she was complaining that Mrs. Tang no longer valued their sisterly relationship. Of course, she did not dare to voice out her dissatisfaction in front of Mrs. Tang. She did not have the confidence. Perhaps one day, she would have to rely on Mrs. Tang to help her. She did not know that Mrs. Tang, who had taken a pipe dream, had been kind enough not to strangle her to death. In the later part of her previous life, after the fall of the original owner and Wu Lingling's rise, Qin Ruolin had often bragged in front of Mrs. Tang. A golden millet dream was much clearer than experiencing that world in person, because in this dream, she could see what the important characters had experienced from their perspective. Ziyun knew that Tangwa would travel to all kinds of small worlds, experience all kinds of strange things, and possess the bodies of some miserable people. Therefore, all these years, she had been researching and upgrading the drugs that Tangwa needed. Mrs. Tang, who had seen what had happened in her previous life from various angles, did not feel any sympathy for Qin Ruolin no matter how much she cried or complained. She even regretted being so devoted to such a person. Tangwa could feel the uncertainty and sadness in Mrs. Tang's eyes every time she looked at her. In the end, she would turn silent and treat her well in silence. It was the same for Mr. Tang. Many times, she could feel the two of them sighing in another room. However, she had never encountered a time when the two of them would talk about her. It was as if they had tacitly agreed not to talk about this matter. Even though they knew that there were many suspicious points about her and that she was not their real daughter, they did not want to expose this lie. Tangwa did not intend to expose them. Regardless of whether she exposed them or not, the latter half of their lives would not be easy as long as they knew in their hearts that she was not their real daughter. Their real daughter was already gone. She had even experienced everything in the unrealized dream. Then, for the rest of the time, they would be in extreme pain. That was enough. Now that Wu Lingling was no longer a good person, Lu Jing no longer had the intention to change for the better. The boss of Brother Knife's gang reported this matter to a certain young master of the Lu family. The young master knew that Wu Lingling was holding Lu Jing back, so he thought that it was just right. As long as Lu Jing missed the best time, he would never have the chance to make a comeback. Just like that, Tangwa entered the third year of high school. There was only a month left before the college entrance examination. Her peers in the same generation as her had already taken the college entrance examination last year. Although they were not in the top schools, with their strengths, their schools were still first class. Her life was already different from her previous life. Many people had high hopes for Tangwa. Peak. Chapter 14:14. One day, when Wu Lingling and a few delinquents passed by the entrance of Tangwa's school, it was school time. She stood by the side, chewing gum. She was no longer wearing heavy metal clothes. She was wearing a t-shirt and a denim skirt. Of course, her hair was dyed in several colors. She even had her nails done in a fancy way. She had pierced her ears with various trendy earrings. The earrings on both sides were different. She even had a necklace made of skulls around her neck. These were very trendy for people like her. Wu Lingling had left her family and stopped studying. Now, all her expenses came from Lu Jing. Lu Jing felt that he owed Wu Lingling a lot for causing her to have 2 abortions. Basically, he would give her whatever she wanted. The college entrance exams are in a month. Oh my god, Tangwa is the top student again. That's scary. I passed by the office that day and heard the language teacher say that she really wanted to give Tangwa full marks. But she deducted 1 mark because she was afraid that she would be too proud. How can there be such a pervert in this world? Why do I have to meet someone like her who sits on the same level as her? It's so satisfying. Wu Lingling did not care about what the people around her were saying. But when she heard the words Tangwa, she was unusually sensitive. From what she knew, if Tangwa had received a call back then, she would not be like this today. She had become like this, being harassed by gangsters and having 2 abortions, all because of Tangwa. If not for Tangwa, her theft of her identity card would not have been exposed. If not for Mother Tang's meddling classmates, her abortion would not have been known by everyone in the family. Wu Lingling was furious when she heard that Tangwa was still so outstanding and even more outstanding than before. Why was Tangwa still standing in such a dazzling position when she had become like this? Last year, she did not attend the family gathering. She did not even go back home. What was the point of doing so? But she had her family's group chat and her family's circle of friends. In her family, all her peers who were close to Tanghua seemed to have improved a lot. It was said that one of Tanghua's cousins was admitted to a prestigious university because of his talent in mathematics. There were quite a number of such incidents. In short, each of them seemed to have their own strengths. Tanghua also had a cousin who was lucky enough to have a famous master of Chinese arts as her master. The more outstanding her peers were, the more Wu Lingling didn't want to meet them. Occasionally, when she bumped into familiar faces on the street, she would subconsciously turn her head and walk away, not looking at the other party, pretending not to see them. What she was most afraid of was people she knew asking her how she was doing. However, it seemed that no one had come to ask her. She took a detour, but the other party had no intention of calling her. Thinking that Tanghua was about to take the college entrance examination, Wu Lingling felt very sad. On what basis? There was no need to guess. As long as Tanghua was allowed to participate in the college entrance examination, she would definitely do her best. By then, she would definitely be the top scorer in science in the city. By then, countless people would be interviewed, reported, and on the news. Tanghua would be the shining star. She was the mud hiding in the dark. She did not believe that no one would secretly compare her with Tanghua. Tanghua was a role model, while she was a negative example. She felt that the world was full of evil intentions towards her. Hearing people talking about Tanghua enviously, Wu Lingling spat her chewing gum on the ground angrily and turned to leave. The peak. Chapter 14-15. Wu Lingling didn't go far. Instead, she changed to another place and found a place to eat snacks. She bought some snacks. Lu Jing doted on her a lot now. He was not short of money and gave her a lot of money to spend. Lu Jing felt sorry for her, so spending some money on her was nothing. Hence, Wu Lingling was not short of money now. She often treated the delinquents around her to good food. Now, they were holding a big bunch of skewers. As they ate, they threw the bamboo skewers on the ground. Some of the skewers with bones and shells were spat out on the ground. Even if the rubbish bin was not far away, they acted as if they did not see it and just threw it away. As they were not dressed properly, even if the people around them were disgusted, they did not dare to say anything and just stood at a distance. This position was facing the school gate. When Tanghua came out of the school gate, she saw Wu Lingling and a few delinquents eating and throwing rubbish everywhere. They had no manners at all. Host, she has fallen completely, but she seems to be able to bear it. Because she is a degenerate to begin with, everything she has experienced will only make her feel a little sad. Two different people going through the same thing would have different pressures and experiences. Wu Lingling's choice was to go all out and mingle with these people. She did not feel guilty about what she had done. In her heart, she was probably still resentful that she did not pick up the phone back then. Wu Lingling also saw Tanghua. At first glance, she was a little stunned. Tanghua, who was almost 18 years old, was even more beautiful. That face was the face of his first love. Just by standing there casually, she could attract the attention of countless people. Wu Lingling suddenly felt that the skewers in her hand were tasteless. When she saw Tanghua just glancing at her and getting into the car without a care, she gritted her teeth and felt a little angry. What's there to be proud of? Wasn't she just good-looking and had good grades? Sister Lingling, why aren't you eating? I don't feel like eating. Looking at some people makes me annoyed. The delinquents were still perceptive and asked in a low voice, Sister Lingling, you don't like Tanghua, right? She's quite arrogant. She's relying on her grades and the school's support. Yes, I think she's bad and hypocritical. You don't know, but none of my relatives say anything bad about her. Every time I see her, it's especially infuriating. They have no idea how fake Tanghua really is. Sister Lingling, since you hate her so much, why don't you find a chance to teach her a lesson? You have Brother Lu to back you up, and you also have Brother Dao to help you. You can easily teach her a lesson. Wu Lingling frowned. Do you think I don't want to? She never ran around. Every day, there was a chauffeur to pick her up. Even when she went shopping, there would be someone accompanying her. Chapter 14:17. Uncle Lin, Xiao Gu maintained her smile. Now that studies are intense, students have to eat more nutritious food to prevent dizziness and weakness. Principal Lin. No, he doesn't know. He doesn't know anything. Student? Which student? Dr. Chiao, how come I don't know that you care so much about our school students? Do you want to work in the cafeteria when you're free? Uncle Lin. What do you want to eat? I'll make more for you in the afternoon. Oh, right. I'm preparing pumpkin and mung bean soup. Do you want some? Principal Lin's stiff face revealed a smile again. He patted Xiao Ji's shoulder and said softly, pumpkin and mung bean soup. Don't add sugar. Add less salt and more chili. Understood, Uncle Lin. Xiao Gu, you go to the market every day to buy groceries and cook. What about the infirmary? Principal Lin's expression became serious again. Don't forget that you're a school doctor now. The weather is hot now. If you leave, there might be problems with the students and we can't find you. Xiao Gu wasn't worried at all. She said confidently, I've taken in 2 disciples. They don't want a salary or food from me. They're willing to work for me. Uncle Lin, don't worry. They have no problem dealing with the school's small problems. Principal Lin was a little confused. When did this happen? Why didn't I know about it? Uncle Lin, if you're worried, come with me to the infirmary. There's no problem with their standards. Moreover, they don't want money and work for free. Don't you think that's a good thing? Principal Lin was indeed worried. Although Xiao Gu wouldn't do anything out of line. Even if Xiao Gu had her eyes on his school's most outstanding student, she would only deliver food and water. She wouldn't say anything out of line. Moreover, most of the time, she would keep a distance when talking to other students. It had been 2 years, and they hadn't even held hands. Thinking of this, Principal Lin suddenly felt that he was too harsh. It sounded like Xiao Gu was a little pitiful. However, he felt that it was good to keep such a distance to prevent other students from following the trend. Xiao Ji's restraint, courtesy, and consideration for the students had made many female students in the school understand that the male students were frivolous people. It had to be said that because of Xiao Ji's appearance, the number of puppy love incidents in the school had decreased. When a male student pursued a female student, the female student would subconsciously compare herself to Xiao Gu, and then ask a question that would make one vomit blood. Can you cook? Male classmate. I can make it, but it might not taste good. However, I will improve. Female classmate. You play basketball every day. Do you have time to learn how to cook? You still have class. Can you bring me food? The male classmate. Sorry to interrupt. There were also male students who wanted to hold female students' hands. If the 2 of them hadn't taken a pipe dream before, they would have thought that it was just a coincidence. Now that their eyes were closed, they would remember the scene in their dreams. In order to prevent Wu Lingling from hurting Tanghua, he even investigated Wu Lingling. They didn't think that puncturing a tire was a small matter. It might be a conspiracy. The 2 of them looked at each other. Seeing that Tanghua had not come down, they whispered to each other, Why don't we split up and drive a car each? Mrs. Tang furrowed her brows. It doesn't matter if we're wrong or not. We still need to be careful. If it really is her, then, Father Tang sighed. It's all my fault. I didn't think so much. I thought it was just an ordinary college entrance exam. When Tanghua came downstairs, Mother Tang and Father Tang were stunned. Vertex. He only thought that she was someone who lived in this neighborhood and didn't care at all. Tanghua got on the car, while Mother Tang and Father Tang also drove behind her. The system reminded her that one of the 2 was following her, while the other was driving in another direction. This road was also the road to the school. Tanghua smiled. She had to admit that with the 2 of them attracting her attention, she felt much more relaxed. There were still many students riding bicycles along the way. No one would notice her at all. Moreover, she always gave people the impression that she was a sensible, obedient, and good student. Chapter 14:20. No one would believe that she would ride a bicycle to take the exam on the day of the exam, right? Host, your parents are really naughty. They actually put a doll half the height of a person in the bicycle seat. From afar, it really does look like a person. Tangwa laughed out loud. The two of them were trying their best to salvage the situation, but it was useless. What had happened was what had happened. From the moment she came to this world and changed everything, everything could not return to the beginning. After all, she was not the original owner. Tangwa went to the school without any obstructions and arrived at the entrance of the exam room. Xiaogu was waiting outside the exam room very early. Seeing Tangwa dressed differently than usual, he felt a little strange. "Why are you dressed like this today?" Tangwa smiled and said, "I'm cheering myself on." "Are you nervous?" Xiaogu asked with a smile in his eyes. He did not care if she was telling the truth or not. Regardless of whether his little sister was telling the truth or not, as long as she said it to him, he would feel that it was good. "I'm not nervous." Xiaogu passed the prepared paper and pen to Tangwa. "I've already checked it many times. There won't be any mistakes. I even prepared 3 copies. It's enough." "Big brother Xiaogu, thank you." "No need to thank me. This is what I want to do," Xiaogu said very seriously. Seeing that no one came, he asked in a low voice, "Little sister, in a few months, you'll be an adult?" "Yes." Tangwa looked at Xiaogu with clear eyes. Xiaogu coughed lightly. "What I mean is that you should take the exam seriously and get a good result. Treat it as your coming-of-age gift so that you won't have any regrets in the future." And Big brother Xiaogu is right. I'll take the exam seriously. System. Ha ha ha, what a joke. This guy, what exactly did he want to say? In the end, he gave her words of encouragement. "Then you can go in." Xiaogu watched as Tangwa entered the exam room. In the end, he reluctantly retracted his gaze. Suddenly, he felt a cold gaze on him. Only then did he realize that Principal Lin had been standing there for a long time. He smiled and greeted, "Uncle Lin, good morning." "It's not early anymore. The exam is coming soon. Why are you still standing here? Don't you know that standing here will affect the students' exams? Hurry up and return to your infirmary." Principal Lin immediately scolded her, but Xiaogu maintained her smile the entire time. She glanced at Tangwa's seat in the classroom and quickly left. Humph, this brat, that smile in his eyes is like a wolf seeing fresh meat. Bah, that brat is a wolf. My schoolmates are thirsty not for meat. After Principal Lin finished muttering, he felt that something was amiss and quickly walked away. Tangwa sat in the examination hall and listened to the system report on what had happened to Father and Mother Tang. Father Tang drove to a certain street. When he turned a corner, a bicycle came from the opposite side and directly scammed him. The other party was also skilled, and Father Tang was already prepared. If he bumped into them, so be it. If they didn't want him to leave, what could he do? Even if he offered them money, they wouldn't be willing. Father Tang's expression was dark. He didn't look too good. If he really was the one driving Tangwa to the exam hall today, he would definitely be delayed for a long time if someone tried to blackmail him. The other party kept scolding and nagging, unwilling to let him go. Father Tang directly called the police. Mother Tang's situation wasn't any better. Currently, an old lady was lying in front of her car. Peek. Chapter 1421. Luckily, she braked quickly and didn't crash into her. When she saw the old lady appear and run straight to her car, she was shocked. When Mrs. Tang thought about what had happened to her daughter in her dream, she was furious and upset. These people were so evil. Her daughter was so obedient. How could Wu Lingling pretend that nothing had happened? She even thought that her daughter was bad and ran to their house to comfort them. Even if she didn't know that Xiao Guo was in trouble because of her, didn't Wu Lingling find out later on? In her dream, the couple even apologized to Wu Lingling for not teaching Xiao Guo well. These scenes were like needles stabbing her heart. Wu Lingling didn't even bat an eyelid and said that she didn't blame Xiao Guo. Haha, Wu Lingling. Was she worthy? She didn't even dare to admit her mistakes until her death. Was she not worthy of talking about Xiao Guo? When she saw the old lady, she really had the urge to drive over and kill her. This kind of money-taking and harming people wasn't human at all. She was a beast. Luckily, she finally came to her senses. She couldn't let her family fall into another tragedy because of Wu Lingling. Even if many things were different now, even if she was happy on the surface, she had to do her best to maintain it. It didn't matter if that person was her daughter or not. What she did was what her daughter wanted to do. Her daughter, Xiaoguo, was now on the path to greatness. Her future was limitless, and her life was bright. Wu Lingling had already fallen into the abyss. She couldn't do something that violated the rules. If she hurt herself, she would destroy their family. Mrs. Tang's eyes turned red when she thought about her daughter's death in her dream. She stood beside the old lady and coldly watched her roll on the ground, screaming in pain. The old lady felt that something was wrong, but the other party said that her mission after receiving the money was to stop the car. No matter how she stopped it, as long as she stopped the car, it was right. She had to stop it for at least half an hour. After half an hour, it wouldn't be her business anymore. Brother Knife thought it through. He couldn't stop Mrs. Tang forever. So, he had arranged for a follow-up. Once Mother Tang escaped, he would arrange for another obstacle. Wu Lingling told him that he only needed to stop Tanghua from taking the exam this morning. He thought it was simple, but he didn't expect that everything that had happened was different from what he had imagined. Mrs. Tang quietly took out her phone and called the police. This matter would not end so easily. She didn't look for Wu Lingling to settle the score, but Wu Lingling came to ruin her daughter again. Was there such a good thing in this world? Old Madame Tang screamed for a while. The people around watched the show, but Mrs. Tang didn't come up to care about her at all. She felt even more uneasy, but she had taken the money after all. Perhaps she could still extort a sum of money here. Thus, she closed her eyes and curled up her body with a pained expression. When two uniformed police officers came to her side, she was still unconscious. I was the one who called the police. She's a scammer. Mrs. Tang's voice was a little cold. I'll have to trouble you to help me investigate. When the old lady heard this, she felt that something was wrong. She opened her eyes and saw two uniformed police officers. Her heart skipped a beat. She flipped over and got up to run. I suspect that she stole my diamond ring, Mrs. Tang said. The two police officers quickly caught the old lady. The peak. Wu Lingling was invited to the confrontation. Mrs. Tang informed Qin Ruolin about such a big incident. In addition, the system secretly sent some videos to the police. Looking at those videos, Wu Lingling couldn't deny it. For the first time, Mother Tang slapped Wu Lingling hard across the face in front of Qin Ruolin. Wu Lingling and Qin Ruolin were both shocked by this action. Mrs. Tang had always been a gentle and kind person. She rarely scolded Qin Ruolin, her biological sister, let alone hit her. What did Xiaoguo do to wrong you? Why did you deliberately arrange for these delinquents to stop Xiaoguo from taking the college entrance examination? After the slap, Mrs. Tang finally felt better. Climax. Chapter 1423. Sister, let's talk nicely. Why did you have to hit her? Qin Ruolin looked at Wu Lingling, whose face was red and swollen from the slap. She felt sorry for her and quickly pulled Mrs. Tang back. When Mrs. Tang heard this, she was so angry that she laughed. Talk nicely? Qin Ruolin, ask your good daughter if she can behave well and stop harming Xiaoguo. My Xiaoguo is lucky to have worked hard for 3 years. If she had really taken my car to the college entrance exam today, she would have been delayed and wouldn't have been able to enter the exam hall. Even if she did, she would have been delayed and her performance would have been affected. What do you want me to say when she fails the exam? Qin Ruolin was speechless for a moment. She couldn't refute these words. She didn't feel anything about Tanghua's college entrance exam. The more outstanding Tanghua became, the more upset she felt. Because of her daughter, Wu Lingling didn't learn to be good since she was young. Now, she didn't go home and got involved with hooligans. She only graduated from junior high school and stopped studying. When others talked about Tanghua, their faces would be full of smiles and envy. When they talked about Wu Lingling, their faces would be full of disdain and they would whisper. She felt terrible too. If Wu Lingling had worked harder, she wouldn't have been so embarrassed. If Tanghua wasn't that outstanding, or if she could teach Wu Lingling, her daughter should have been better. right? When Mrs. Tang saw Qin Ruolin's eyes darting around and looking as if she didn't know what she was doing, her heart sank. Wu Lingling also recovered from the slap and laughed coldly. Tanghua is a hypocrite. Why did she do all this? Of course, it's because she can't stand her hypocrisy. I just want to see what kind of expression she will have when she fails the college entrance exam. I want to see if you adults will still like her. Wu Lingling was going all out. Since the truth had been exposed, she didn't want to rely on these people for a living. She didn't want these relatives who looked down on her anyway. Especially Mrs. Tang. She hated them the most. Wasn't it just helping her transfer schools and paying her school fees? She was controlling her from above. Her mother didn't even raise her head in front of her. She didn't even care for this kind of charity. When Mrs. Tang heard Wu Lingling's words, she wasn't angry anymore. Wu Lingling was now rotten to the core. After everything that had happened in that dream, she wouldn't be surprised if Wu Lingling said anything outrageous. Very good. You want to harm our Xiaoguo, right? So what if I am? Didn't that mean no harm was done? Wu Lingling sneered. I don't know tomorrow. You'd better keep a close eye on her. Don't let her cry at home every day when she can't take the college entrance examination. Mrs. Tang was no longer angry. She glanced at Qin Ruolin and said, Ruolin, look at your daughter. Are you still going to interfere? Don't instigate my mother. Don't sow discord in front of my mother. My mother and I are mother and daughter. Don't try to use my mother to control me. I won't listen to her. Generally speaking, Wu Lingling's case was not a big deal. Unfortunately, she had overlooked one thing. That was, Tanghua was the most outstanding student in the city. If someone wanted to sabotage her college entrance examination, how could the higher-ups sit still? Mrs. Tang didn't do anything to Wu Lingling. She just made a fuss about it. She wanted to see how society would react to her outstanding daughter being threatened by a bad girl who wanted to sabotage Tanghua's college entrance examination. Wu Lingling thought that the police wouldn't be able to do anything about it. She didn't expect this to be exposed. Peak. Chapter 1424. Immediately, the higher-ups issued orders to detain Wu Lingling. As for how long it would take, they did not say. In any case, Wu Lingling was not allowed to ruin Tanghwa's college entrance exams. Qin Ruolin even pleaded for her, saying that Wu Lingling was insensible. Insensible? Wu Lingling was younger than Tanghua by less than a year. Tanghua was 18 this year, and Wu Lingling would be 18 next year. How could she be insensible when she was already an adult? Mother Tang had completely given up on the so-called sisterly bond. She had even exposed this matter to Father Tang. Wu Lingling had harmed her daughter. In the dream world, her daughter had endured all the pain silently. In the end, the pain hidden under the glamour was exposed. Everyone did not sympathize with Xiaoguo. Instead, they blamed her. Since that was the case, why couldn't Wu Lingling expose the fact that she had gone overboard? Within a day, Wu Lingling's matter was known to the entire country. In the afternoon, Tanghua walked out of the examination hall feeling refreshed. When she heard that Wu Lingling was being reported by the media, her lips curled. Then, she would let Wu Lingling become more famous. Since she was so shameless, she would not give her any face in the future. All right, great host. With the help of the system, Wu Lingling became famous once again. Her matter had a huge impact, and she was reprimanded countless times with concrete evidence. Hence, she was really detained for a long time. It had been a few days since Tanghua's college entrance exams ended, and she was still not released. Even Lu Jing had no way of getting Wu Lingling out. With such a huge impact, Wu Lingling had to be reprimanded properly before she could be released. He knew about what Wu Lingling had done. He also knew about Wu Lingling's relationship with Brother Dao. Even though he was angry, he chose to forgive her eventually. He truly liked Wu Lingling. However, he did not know that Wu Lingling had intimate relations with Brother Dao and those hooligans. Till now, he did not know that his head was already glowing with a green glow. He also did not know that Father Lu was watching everything that he had been through so far. After countless disappointments, he had already calmed down. In his heart, he had silently given up on him and turned to nurture other outstanding children. Even with Lu Jing's mother's influence, He could at most live a carefree life in the Liu family. It was impossible for him to take over the Liu Corporation. When Tangwa heard this from the system, she was even happier than when she got full marks in the college entrance examination. Ever since the incident with Wu Lingling, Mrs. Tang had cut off all contact with Qin Ruolin. Other relatives in the family knew what Wu Lingling had done. Of course, they didn't want to have anything to do with Qin Ruolin anymore. Qin Ruolin actually wanted Mother Tang to keep the peace. Wu Lingling had done so many bad things in the past. Every time, the victim had to give in. What kind of logic was that? Qin Ruolin and her husband must have something to do with Wu Lingling's bad behavior. Therefore, it was better not to acknowledge them as relatives. Who knew if Wu Lingling would think of them and dislike them and make trouble for them? Their family didn't have a good student who could score close to full marks. Who would support them? The results of the college entrance examination were out. They were 1 point away from full marks. The Tang family was very happy, and Tangwa's peers were also proud of her. Wu Lingling was released, and Lu Jing went to pick her up. Lingling, how did you get involved with Brother Dao? Lu Jing's tone was somewhat reproachful. Wu Lingling had been unhappy recently. The moment she heard those words, she exploded. Lu Jing, what do you mean by that? Are you suspecting me? You left without a word. If I can't find you for help, can I find someone else? Fupin the Peak. Chapter 1425. Lingling, I've sent you a message. My mom is in the hospital, and I've gone to visit her. Wu Lingling's unreasonable and insensible ways were tiring on Lu Jing's heart. No matter how much Wu Lingling kicked up a fuss on other matters, he wouldn't feel anything. However, his mother was the only person he cared about. She was also his only kin in this world. Now that his mother was seriously ill, he had merely gone back to visit her. He had also sent her a message in between. He hadn't expected that Wu Lingling would create so much trouble when his mother returned from the hospital. Aside from ruining Tangwa's college entrance exams, he had heard from Wu Lingling that no one in the family Tang liked her. He could understand that feeling. After all, in the Liu family, other than his mother, no one else liked him. Even his father's other lovers would often say ambiguous things in front of his mother, which made his mother so angry that she fell ill. Therefore, he felt that ruining Tangwa's college entrance exams was because Tangwa had provoked Wu Lingling. What he couldn't accept was that Wu Lingling was related to Brother Knife. He had always been at odds with Brother Knife and his gang. Wu Lingling didn't know who was behind Brother Knife, but he knew very well. This time, the woman who had caused his mother to fall ill was the mother of one of the Liu family's young masters behind Brother Knife's boss. Don't interact with Brother Knife anymore. Lu Jing's tone softened at the thought of how Wu Lingling had been wronged as well. After all, Wu Lingling had been with him for so many years and had even had 2 abortions because of his carelessness. Actually, he really liked Wu Lingling. However, he vaguely felt that they shouldn't be like this. He recalled how his mother had held his hand on the hospital bed and told him to work harder. His heart was sour as he held Wu Lingling's hand. Lingling. What? Wu Lingling's tone wasn't good, but she didn't blame Lu Jing anymore. She knew very well what kind of relationship she had with Brother Knife and his gang. If things were to blow up and those things were to be exposed, it wouldn't do her any good. She couldn't go home now because the family Tang hated her. Her mother felt that she was an embarrassment, and her father only knew how to drink and play cards all day long. He didn't care about his daughter at all. She had to rely on Lu Jing for her living expenses. Therefore, she couldn't really provoke Lu Jing. Lu Jing had already softened his tone, and she knew when to stop. If Lu Jing ignored her, she would really be homeless. All her confidence came from Lu Jing. Lingling, my mother is seriously ill this time. Lu Jing hesitated for a moment before saying, I don't want to go on like this, Lingling. I don't want my mother to look sad and hurt every time she sees me. What do you mean? I want to go home, Lingling. I want to go home. I want to learn from my dad. Maybe I won't have a bright future, but at least my mom won't have to worry. Besides, we can't go on like this forever, can we? Lu Jing spoke carefully, afraid that he would anger Wu Lingling. Wu Lingling was not angry this time. She asked in a low voice, What about me? I'll take you with me. What do you say? Wu Lingling's eyes lit up. Really? Of course it's true. If I didn't plan to bring you back with me, why would I tell you this? Wu Lingling knew that Lu Jing came from a good family and was the young master of the Lu group. How could she be unwilling? Fupin Vertex. Chapter 1426. Host. Lu Jing intends to bring Wu Lingling back to the Lu family's city. He must have woken up after his mother fell ill. What was the reaction of the young master of the Lu family? He did not seem to care much about Lu Jing and felt that the current Lu Jing was no match for him. He was still happy about the green mark on Lu Jing's head. Let me remind him that no matter how bad Lu Jing looked now, as long as he was given the chance, he would definitely surpass many people. Since he was in a wealthy family, he should not let his guard down against any opponent. At the very least, he should not underestimate any opponent for the sake of inheriting the entire Lu family. The system smiled secretly. Host, don't worry, I've been keeping an eye on Lu Jing. As long as he does something outstanding, I'll use all sorts of methods to let the young master of the Lu family know how scary Lu Jing is. By then, he won't be able to sit still. Well done, Tongzi. Your IQ has improved. You even know how to get someone else to do your dirty work. Tang Guo was not stingy with her praises. This made the system very happy. Didn't it learn a lot from being by its great host's side? Now, we just need to show Lu Jing's growth to the young master of the Lu family. I believe he will think of a way to deal with Lu Jing soon. The current Lu Jing was not the Lu Jing of the future. The young master of the Lu family's methods were enough to deal with him. Moreover, he had Wu Lingling's weakness in his hands. When everything was exposed, Lu Jing would probably faint from anger. As the system spoke, it felt that it and its host were like villains who were hiding in the dark and stirring up trouble. Forget it, it did not matter. As long as the great host felt relieved, it was fine. Wu Lingling followed Lu Jing back to the Lu family city. Lu Jing did not dare to bring Wu Lingling back to the Lu family. Firstly, the Lu family was more complicated, and he was afraid that Wu Lingling would be bullied. Secondly, given Wu Lingling's current situation, if she was brought back, his father's lovers would definitely mock her in front of his mother. At the end of the day, Wu Lingling was not presentable and was not presentable. The Lu family was after all an upper-class family. No matter how bad their descendants were, they would definitely become a joke if they brought back an incompetent delinquent girl. Lu Jing did like Wu Lingling, but in his heart, the most important person was still his mother who gave birth to him and raised him. He was also afraid that his mother would not be able to accept Wu Lingling. He didn't lack money, so he rented a house for Wu Lingling. He gave her enough money, so Wu Lingling was very satisfied. Seeing that Wu Lingling did not have any objections, Lu Jing went to study with Father Lu. Lu Jing was almost 20 years old and was already an adult. He had dropped out of high school before even finishing high school. To be honest, the young master and young mistress of the Lu family did not take him seriously at all. However, his mother had always held a special place in his father's heart and had always given him special treatment. At first, no one cared. It was only because of the system that the young master of the Lu family, who was against Lu Jing, realized how terrifying Lu Jing was. Lu Jing was especially smart and could pick it up almost instantly. Even if he made mistakes everywhere, as long as he missed it once, he would never make the same mistake a second time. Such a Lu Jing finally made the most competitive young master of the Lu family afraid. He felt that he had to stop Lu Jing's growth. Otherwise, given the special treatment Father Lu gave to Mother Lu, Lu Jing might really be able to make a comeback. Fupin Vertex. Chapter 1427. The university that Tangwa was going to was in the same city as the Lu family. The university in this city was considered one of the top universities in the country. Of course, she could have chosen other universities that were as good as, or even better than this one. However, from the original owner's wish, she could see that the original owner's wish was to go to this university. Therefore, she naturally had to fulfill this small wish. Ever since the system revealed to the young master of the Lu family that Lu Jing was not a simple person and that he could rise to power if he was given a little chance, he no longer looked down on Lu Jing. The other party no longer belittled Lu Jing and started to target him in the dark. He even recruited a lot of helpers. As expected, things did not go so smoothly for Lu Jing. He did not even have the chance to perform. In fact, because of that young master's scheme, Lu Jing's father gradually felt that Lu Jing was a loser who couldn't be supported by a wall. Lu Jing's father's disappointment, blame, and indifference caused Lu Jing to lose the little bit of hope he had. Once there was no one to encourage him or believe in his ability, he would definitely become dispirited. The most effective way to attack someone was to destroy their confidence, beliefs, and all their hopes. This would make them feel the indifference of the world. Every day, they would hear the world doubting their ability and thinking that they were worthless. No matter how outstanding a person was, there was a 99% chance that they would become depraved and lose all hope. If Wu Lingling was not a delinquent girl but a kind, cheerful, and pure girl who was full of positive energy, she might be able to pull Lu Jing out of his hole. Unfortunately, Wu Lingling was not like that. Compared to Lu Jing, she was even more depraved. Lu Jing was as tired as a dog every day. When he returned home, he still had to endure Wu Lingling's temper. The only warmth in his life came from his mother. However, after all his actions, his mother's gaze towards him was filled with sadness and disappointment. Therefore, the only place that gave him warmth could no longer give him warmth. Lu Jing was already suspecting that he was not capable at all. No matter what he did, he could not do it well. The young master of the Lu family heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Lu Jing's dejected look. Of course, this was not the end. Wasn't Wu Lingling still a useless chess piece? They did not choose to give those photos to Lu Jing directly. Instead, Lu Jing was busy during the day, so Brother Knife called Wu Lingling out to play. He inadvertently revealed some information about Lu Jing to Wu Lingling, causing her expression to change drastically. Brother Dao, you must be joking. How could it be a joke? I have a friend who works in the Lu Corporation. The young master of the Lu family will definitely marry someone from their circle in the future. Moreover, Lu Jing's performance is not bad. Many young ladies have taken a fancy to him. Wu Lingling's heart was in a mess. Lu Jing, who was almost 20 years old, was indeed becoming more and more handsome. Most of the time, when he wore that decent suit, she would be mesmerized. She liked Lu Jing. Firstly, she liked Lu Jing's money. Secondly, she liked Lu Jing's good looks. Thirdly, she liked Lu Jing's obedience to her. She believed that many girls would take a fancy to Lu Jing. She had always thought that Lu Jing belonged to her and would always belong to her. Now that he heard Brother Knife's words, he panicked. Lu Jing likes me. He won't fall for those women. Fupin Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1428. Lingling, aren't you too naive? The woman sitting on the other side snickered. Lu Jing likes you now, but this man will have a change of heart one day. No, Lu Jing said that he will always be good to me. How can he have a change of heart? Wu Lingling said stubbornly. He said that he will only like me. That was the Lu Jing of the past, Lingling. The woman patted Wu Lingling's shoulder and said softly, the Lu Jing now is different. How could he be different? The Lu Jing now is still the same Lu Jing. He's with me every day. He even brings me small gifts and gives me money to spend. He even listens to me. How could he be different? The Lu Jing now is working in the Lu Corporation. He is dressed in a suit every day. He is no longer the hooligan who hangs out with you every day. Even if he used to be a hooligan, it doesn't change the fact that he is the young master of the Lu family. In the eyes of countless women, a man's past is not important. The most important thing is his current glory and achievements. In the eyes of many young women, the Lu Jing now is handsome, rich, and noble. Who doesn't want to marry into the Lu family and become the young madam of the Lu family? Even if Lu Jing doesn't inherit the Lu Corporation, being his legal wife will be a life of glory and wealth. And Lingling, what about you? Wu Lingling was speechless. What about her? She was just a girl who had graduated from junior high school. Now, she had nothing to her name. Other than her good looks, she knew almost nothing. No, she knew a lot. Drinking, smoking, singing karaoke, swearing, fooling around with these men. and even having an abortion. Wu Lingling's face was filled with panic. Her face was extremely pale. When everything was put together, it meant that she was no longer good enough for Lu Jing. She was getting further and further away from Lu Jing. Lu Jing had a father with a good status. She didn't. Even if Lu Jing didn't finish high school, he could still work in the Lu Corporation. She couldn't. If Lu Jing left her, he could live a better life and be pursued by countless people because he was the young master of the Lu family. If she left Lu Jing, she would have no income and no place to stay. Wu Lingling was completely flustered. However, she still pretended to be calm and said, "No, I believe in Lu Jing. The person he loves will always be me. He will always be by my side." When they saw Wu Lingling's reaction, Brother Knife and the others didn't say anything else. The seed had been planted and was slowly sprouting. From today onwards, Wu Lingling would be the biggest obstacle in Lu Jing's future. Of course, Brother Knife wouldn't expose the matter of the photos. However, those photos would be useful, and they would be of great use. If it wasn't for this Brother Knife and his boss's deep grudge against me, I would have praised them. They are really qualified to be bad guys. Tanghua saw everything that Wu Lingling had been through the system's monitor. Looking at Wu Lingling's pale face, her helpless eyes, and her panicked look of wanting to escape made her feel extremely happy. Being entangled with gangsters was not a big blow to Wu Lingling. Even though so many scandals had been exposed, Wu Lingling seemed to be shameless. She just muddled along and was completely shameless. Today, she finally realized what Wu Lingling was afraid of. Wu Lingling was also a person. She was afraid of losing the best thing in her hands. To Wu Lingling, Lu Jing is the best thing she has in her hands. Peak. She was afraid that he would hear the news and misunderstand. Xiao Gu felt that his life had been worth it. Such an understanding young lady was actually his. Therefore, he rejected the invitations of the major hospitals and came to this university to continue to be a small school doctor. Of course, those old men would not let him go. He wasn't an ungrateful person. All his abilities were given to him by this world. Therefore, he wasn't stingy. He compiled everything he learned into books and contributed them to benefit society. Doing good deeds could earn him merit. The peak. Chapter 1430. He hoped that this merit would allow them to meet again in their next life. If someone was willing to work as a free school doctor, he would be happy to do so no matter what their motive was. With someone looking after the infirmary for him, he could buy fresh vegetables every morning and cook for Guagua. In the afternoon, he could even make some afternoon tea for Guagua. There were many students in the university. If not for these free apprentices, he would still be busy and would have to deal with some small matters every day. He felt that such a life was perfect. Holding Guagua's hand was like holding the whole world. Eat more. You've lost weight recently. Xiao Gu looked at Tanghua's face that had lost its baby fat and touched it. You've lost a lot of weight. The system was showing off again. The host had grown taller, not skinnier. Gu Gu, your culinary skills have improved again. Tanghua was not stingy with her compliments. It's delicious. If it's delicious, then eat more. What do you want for dinner? What do you want to drink in the afternoon? Xiao Gu acted like a house husband. The system was already numb. This fellow, Sai, let's not talk about it anymore. She was so obedient that the host could not bear to abandon her. Gu Gu, everything is delicious. I like to eat it. Everything is good. I'm not picky. The system was right. She would not be picky if it was Xiao Gu who made it. The last time at the class gathering, someone only ate a small mouthful and called Xiao Gu after returning home. She said that the food in the restaurant was really bad and did not eat more than 2 mouthfuls. She was still hungry now. Then, Xiao Gu, that unprincipled fellow, actually made food in the middle of the night and sent it to her. The system silently thought, how could this world be so evil to single people? When Xiao Gu heard Tanghua's words, the smile on his handsome face did not disappear. Then I'll make soup tonight. You've lost so much weight recently. It's good to nourish your body. Tanghua nodded. Okay. She did not reject at all. Anyway, she was not afraid of gaining weight. Xiao Ji's culinary skills were really good. This fellow was good at holding scalpels. She did not expect him to be so good at holding a kitchen knife. Haven't those hospitals come to you recently? Tangwa asked. Xiao Gu shook her head. No, I'm very free right now. It's not like those old fellows don't have the ability. They have plenty of experience, but their ideas aren't as bold as mine. After a little discussion, they'll all understand. After a few more years, I'll become more and more free. Guji, Guogua, what are you trying to say? You're so talented in medicine. At your age, you'll definitely be able to achieve great things in medicine. You might even be able to leave a mark in history. Isn't it a pity to give up like this? If you want these things, I don't mind. I don't want you to give up your dreams just because you want to accompany me. Xiaogu held Tangwa's hand and said gently, Guogua, my dream is to always hold your hand, take care of you, love you, and accompany you. Fame and fortune are not important to me. I've already written down everything I know in the book, and I've also returned what I've learned. I think that the current situation is very good. If there's anything you need me for, I won't refuse. But there are many talented people in this world. One day, there will be someone more outstanding than me. This person's biggest dream will definitely be to achieve great things in the medical world. But my biggest dream is to wait for you to graduate and marry you. Chapter 1431. Tangwa was amused by Xiao Ji's sincere words and serious expression. She ate the food that Xiao Gu had personally cooked and said, Gu Gu, you have to work hard if you want to marry me. I will. I'm working hard every day. Have you eaten? Tangwa suddenly asked. She looked up and saw that he was about to speak. She interrupted. If you want to marry me, the first condition is that you can't lie to me. I haven't had time to eat. Xiao Ji's eyes were filled with helplessness. He did not dare to lie to her and said truthfully, Then let's eat together? No. Xiao Gu refused. If I eat, it won't be enough for you. If you're not full, you'll be hungry in the afternoon. Tangwa smiled. You brought me food in the afternoon. How can it not be enough? Don't tell me you're not coming in the afternoon. Of course I'm coming, Xiao Gu said hurriedly. Then, he saw Tangwa placing food in front of him. His heart skipped a beat and almost jumped out of his chest. This was probably the most intimate moment they had ever been in all the years they had known each other. Gu Gu, open your mouth. Xiao Gu opened his mouth obediently. His eyes were filled with love as he looked at her face. He felt that the food in his mouth tasted 70% better than before. This 70% was all because of her concern and joy. Let's go. Dr. Qiao and his girlfriend are showing off their love again. Let's go. It's noon. How can we live? The two of them ate one mouthful after another. They did not realize that the tables and chairs under the shade of the trees were empty. They really could not stand the two of them showing off their love every day. It made them very uncomfortable. It was said that Dr. Qiao had changed from being the school doctor of Beauty Tang's high school to being the school doctor of her university in order to pursue her. They also knew the few senior school doctors in the infirmary. They were all very famous doctors in charge of the major hospitals. What was unbelievable was that these amazing people actually came to their school to be free school doctors. Even in front of school Dr. Qiao, he was still polite and full of smiles. At first, they did not understand why. Later, they accidentally heard about some things in the medical book that Xiao Gu had compiled. She finally understood that this young Dr. Qiao wasn't a simple person. The first people to know of him were the medical students of this school. Every time they saw Xiao Gu, their eyes would twinkle. The girls in the school envied Tangwa the most. Her boyfriend had spoiled his girlfriend like a little princess, while Dr. Qiao had turned Beauty Tang into an empress. The boys envied Xiao Gu for being able to gain the favor of their school's #1 beauty. Campus Belle Tang was not only good at her grades. In school, as long as she was involved in something, the final result would be perfect. They didn't dare to do anything. In their eyes, this pair was very compatible. After the two of them finished their food, Xiao Gu carried the thermos in one hand and held Tangwa's hand with the other and slowly left. The tables and chairs that were originally empty were now filled with people. It wasn't that they didn't want to get closer to the two of them, but they couldn't stand the bowl after bowl of dog food. If she stayed with him for too long, she would turn into a sour lemon spirit sooner or later. They envied such a beautiful love, but in their hearts, they knew very well that they could not get it. Guagua, I just took a picture. Peek. Chapter 1432. What photo? Of course, Tangwa knew that Xiao Gu was standing at the side in a daze. This system of hers was getting more and more obedient. Once there was a familiar or suspicious person, it would immediately report it to her. The system had told her about Xiao Gu taking photos. Xiao Gu had done such things many times before. Her phone was filled with her photos, so she wasn't surprised. But since Xiao Gu specially mentioned this, she asked. Xiao Gu took out her phone and showed her the photo. Guagua, I think this smile is a little charming. System. Tangwa glanced at the phone screen and was stunned. That smile did look a little naughty. Guagua's smile has always been clean and sweet. Her smile can easily affect people's hearts. But when I saw this naughty smile, I couldn't tell north from south. Gugu, your aesthetic sense is really different from the rest. Xiao Gu kept her phone and held Tangwa's hand. She said softly, I just feel that this naughty smile is more suitable. It looks so wanton, free, carefree, and unrestrained. I like to show such a smile. It's as if I've encountered something happy. That's why I'm infatuated with it. System. Isn't it happy? Seeing that Wu Lingling is getting more and more unlucky, the host is very happy. However, this fellow really had sharp eyes. He could tell at a glance that this was the real host. If Guga likes it, I'll smile for you every day in the future. How about that? Tangwa looked into Xiao Ji's eyes with a smile. When Xiao Gu saw that smile, his heart skipped a beat as if it was going to stop. Of course, but he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to find the right direction. This kind of guagua made him unable to stop and unable to be himself. Compared to the smoothness and sweetness between Tangwa and Xiao Gu, Wu Lingling and Lu Jing's days were already starting to have conflicts. Ever since the gathering with Brother Knife and the others, Wu Lingling had heard that Lu Jing was getting better and better, and that he was even fancied by many rich young ladies. She was anxious and afraid of losing Lu Jing. Every day, she looked forward to Lu Jing's return. When she sent Lu Jing off in the morning, she was reluctant to part with him. Lu Jing was very happy at first. How could he not be happy when the girl he liked cared so much about him? As a result, he didn't feel anything when he encountered trouble in the company. It was as if hope had been born in his heart. Even if the Lu family targeted him and hated him, he would still fight hard for the girl he liked. What Wu Lingling didn't know was that her concern had given the dispirited Lu Jing confidence again. He wanted to work hard and give her a better future. Wu Lingling, who cared about him so much, was the last straw in his life. His faith had already been destroyed, but Wu Lingling's concern for him had reignited his fighting spirit. While he was burning with a raging fire, Wu Lingling looked at Lu Jing, who was getting better and better. Lu Jing, who was returning home later and was getting busier and busier. The fear that rose in her heart had reached its peak. All that was needed was a trigger that could be triggered at any time. Wu Lingling, who had broken down, would no longer be Lu Jing's fighting spirit. Instead, she would be a death sentence. On this day, Lu Jing had another social event. As long as he won this project, he would definitely make Father Lu look at him in a different light. Peak. Chapter 1433. It was already 9 o'clock at night. Usually, Lu Jing would have been home by this time. Even though Lu Jing had told Wu Lingling that he had an important social engagement today, she thought that he would only be home slightly later than usual. Lu Jing usually returned home at 7 o'clock. She was 2 hours late, and he was still not home. Wu Lingling panicked and quickly called Lu Jing. Because it was an important social engagement, Lu Jing was afraid of delaying the collaboration with the client. His phone was switched off and Wu Lingling's calls did not go through. She was restless at home and would call Lu Jing every once in a while. At this moment, Tanghua was also lying on the bed in the dormitory with her eyes closed. Through the monitoring screen, she was watching the situation between Wu Lingling and Lu Jing. Lu Jing's face was full of smiles, and he seemed to be having a good conversation with the other party. Seeing this, Tanghua was not very happy. Wu Lingling tried to call Lu Jing again, but it still did not go through. Her mind was filled with thoughts of the day when she heard from Brother Knife and the others that Lu Jing was getting better and better. She panicked. Seeing this, Tanghua was very happy. Tongzi, can you turn on Lu Jing's phone? Tangua's lips curled into a naughty smile. I don't want to see him get this project. She had a grudge against Lu Jing for killing her. She would feel unhappy if the other party treated her well. Yes, great host. I have already implanted a virus in Lu Jing's phone. I can control and turn on his phone at any time, then turn it on for him. Wu Lingling is my cousin after all. If she still can't get through to him, she will be anxious and cry. Since we are relatives, I will help her. Hearing this, the string of data in the system trembled. This bad woman. Relatives? Kind-hearted help? This bad woman didn't explain herself. Even when doing bad things, she made it sound so elegant and refined. As the system was thinking this, it had already started the virus program and turned on Lu Jing's phone. Unless his phone ran out of battery, it would not be able to be turned off. Seeing that Lu Jing and the client were getting better and better, they were just short of signing the contract. Wu Lingling called Lu Jing again. When the phone rang, Lu Jing didn't respond. Because he remembered that his phone was turned off, he looked at the customer and thought that it was the other party's phone. After a few rings, Lu Jing realized that something was wrong. The other party also reminded him that it was his phone that was ringing. His expression was a little strange. He stood up and smiled apologetically. Chairman Su, I'm sorry. I have to take a call first. I'm fine. If it was someone else, Lu Jing might not have cared. However, he had to answer Wu Lingling's call. Moreover, he saw that there were many missed calls. He thought that something had happened to Wu Lingling. Lu Jing, where did you go? Why aren't you back yet? Lu Jing answered the call and Wu Lingling's voice sounded. Why aren't you back yet? Lu Jing, come back quickly. Lingling, I have a very important client here. I'm about to sign the contract. I'll come back once I'm done. It's almost 10 o'clock. Wu Lingling didn't understand these things at all. Her mind was filled with thoughts of Lu Jing's change of heart. She recalled the various scenes she had seen in television dramas, and her suspicions grew that Lu Jing was out with another woman. Her unrelenting attitude made Lu Jing feel a little helpless, but at this moment, he did not have the intention to get angry. He only felt that Wu Lingling cared too much about him. Chapter 1434. Chairman Su, who had a good impression of Lu Jing, coaxed Wu Lingling for a long time. He even sent his assistant outside to check on the situation. When he found out that Lu Jing was coaxing his girlfriend, his good impression of him instantly dropped. 10 minutes passed. 20 minutes passed. Wu Lingling was still unwilling to give up. Chairman Su had lost his patience. They were working on an important project, but Lu Jing threw him aside just to coax his girlfriend. He waited for 20 minutes. Firstly, he was sure of Lu Jing's ability. Secondly, he was giving face to Lu Corporation. Now that Lu Jing had disgraced him, he could forget about the collaboration. When Lu Jing finally coaxed Wu Lingling, he saw Chairman Su coming out of the private room with a cold face. He hurriedly chased after him and apologized. Chairman Su, I'm sorry. Just now, Manager Lu, since you're busy, go ahead. It's really late today. I'm planning to go back to accompany my wife so that she won't worry. Chairman Su smiled. Usually, my wife is afraid of affecting my work, so she won't call me. In order to not worry her, I have to go back. Chairman Su, then, Lu Jing still wanted to talk about the collaboration, but Chairman Su had already left. He had no intention of turning back and did not mention the collaboration. He was not a fool. Of course, he knew that he had offended Chairman Su today. He looked a little annoyed. He felt that Chairman Su was too heartless. For the time being, he did not blame Wu Lingling for the matter. Seeing Chairman Su leaving Lu Jing behind, Tangua fell asleep happily. Before sleeping, she reminded the system, "Remember to turn on Lu Jing's phone in the future. Oh right, insert a small advertisement for the couple location for Wu Lingling. She's very smart. I believe she will know what to do." System, "Oh my God, this woman is really bad." But of course, it had to satisfy the host's request. If there was a first time, there would be a second time. Lu Jing returned home slightly later, and Wu Lingling would call him. Originally, he was having a good discussion with the client, but because of coaxing Wu Lingling, he would miss the opportunity to collaborate. This happened a few times. Father Lu was already very dissatisfied with Lu Jing. Lu Jing also knew that this could not go on. Every time he turned off his phone, it would turn on again. He thought that it was because his phone was broken and even bought a new one. But at the crucial moment, it was still the same. In the end, he decided to blacklist Wu Lingling's number when they were discussing business. Wu Lingling got anxious when she couldn't get through. He had accidentally seen a small advertisement somewhere and knew that he could locate it. While Lu Jing was sleeping at home, she secretly located Lu Jing's phone. Sometimes, she couldn't get through to Lu Jing's phone. She thought that he must have done something to let her down. She had to find out which bitch had seduced her Lu Jing. She was going to teach that bitch a lesson. Another day, Lu Jing was still not back by 10 o'clock. Sure enough, he always succeeded in blacklisting Wu Lingling when they were discussing business. On this day, because this client was more difficult to deal with, he spent a lot of time on it. Wu Lingling couldn't get through, so she had no choice but to locate Lu Jing. Seeing that Lu Jing's location was displayed in a large tavern, Zhang Xian immediately headed over to look for him. Perhaps it was Lu Jing's bad luck. When Wu Lingling pushed open the door to the private room, the client's secretary happened to be pouring wine for him. If Wu Lingling saw it, how could that be? Vertex, you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.